Hi, everyone. Huge full house tonight, and that's good because it's going to be a really special show. So the title for the show tonight is from Howard Hughes to Ian Fleming and everyone in between, and that's the whole world. that's the whole known infrastructure for the entire world. So I know everybody has heard of Howard Hughes, and they made a movie they've made a number of movies about Howard Hughes. And Christopher Nolan said his best script ever is about the Howard Hughes movie he was all set to make and didn't make. So Christopher Nolan is gifted beyond description, and his movies are a literal list of the top 40 best movies of all time. Virtually every single one of his movies is in there. And the best script that he ever wrote, he said, is the script for the Howard Hughes movie, but he never made. Pressure, much? Wait, please? So yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio played and did a great job, but that movie was for other purposes that we'll talk about, because again, the narrative to the Canaanites has to be sold, and that's sold by the biggest names on the biggest screens. So they have to make movies about this, and disinformation is necessary. So when you go out and look for information about Howard Hughes in terms of right now in a Hollywood movie, you just are not going to find it. But you will find it. You'll find grains of it in different areas, which we're going to show you tonight. One of which would be in the James Bond movies, because the relationship that Fleming and Ian Fleming, the creator of James Bond, and Howard Hughes had was significant, very significant. They respected one another. And in some of the comments that we're going to share with you tonight, you just get this sense. At the end of the show, really, what we'll all be asking ourselves is, really, who was or is Howard Hughes? Because the power that the man had, without being this big, scary image, is very interesting. Very interesting, because when you bring up in certain circles, and I'm talking about the highest political circles, when you bring up the name of Howard Hughes, it inspires silence for everyone. And so in an age where nobody was talking about the CIA, and we're going to get into this tonight because Ian Fleming is so powerfully connected to the CIA and its formation. But when in an era where nobody was talking publicly about Howard Hughes, there was just one of those things. The media, who he controlled, wasn't talking about Howard Hughes. Nobody was. And nobody was talking about the CIA. No one. And if anyone tried to, the CIA kind of frowned on it. We'll get into all of this tonight. But essentially, where we go in from the late 50s in through the 60s and early 70s, and then after that, everything began to change. But through that significant period of time, no one essentially was allowed to talk about Howard Hughes or the CIA. Very interesting stuff, except Ian Fleming. And then Ian Fleming is making Bond movies with the help of Howard Hughes. And when it came time to make Diamonds Are Forever, Howard Hughes contacted Ian Fleming, and Ian Fleming's going like, how did you get this number? Wow. I've learned so much. It's just funny with Howard Hughes. But and he said, look, you have to make it here in Nevada. And he said, I own Nevada. I control Las Vegas. You make the movie here, and anything you need, you get. So a very famous production designer.
You're saying Howard Hughes owned Las Vegas.
That's right, and it sounds maybe like bravado on Hughes's part, but when you start digging into this, the biggest, most powerful names in the world were all echoing the same sentiment, and it goes further than that. He controlled the Western United States, and that went right in to Utah, which we'll get into because of these connections with Howard Hughes and the likes, of course, of Gene Roddenberry from Star Trek. We're going to talk about that relationship, and Roddenberry, who was such a huge fan and supporter of Howard Hughes, invited Hughes to write a couple of Star Trek episodes because that's how much knowledge that Howard Hughes had about everything. And Howard Hughes just never got around to it. But it was also Howard Hughes that told the world that you can't let NBC cancel, or it was CBS. You can't allow CBS to cancel Star Trek because he said it's by far the best show on television. And Star Trek really didn't need any help. It was always a very, very popular show. But John Kennedy came out in support of Star Trek. John Kennedy came out in support of Ian Fleming. That's when Fleming's second novel, From Russia with Love, Kennedy said it's one of his top 10 favorite books. And then the Bond phenomenon in print, in book form, exploded in the United States when Kennedy said that. Now, why would a president once again show non-neutrality and picking players, picking a side out there if he didn't have to? These are all scrutinized by the media and by the opposition, which would be the Canaanites as well. So it's very, very telling because we know publicly that John Kennedy said that the worst thing out there is the CIA, and I'm going to destroy the CIA, and I'm going to dismantle it into 1,000 pieces and then scatter them to the wind, famously. But the only person talking about the CIA was Ian Fleming, and John Kennedy in 1961 goes out of his way to say that From Russia with Love was one of his 10 most favorite books. And then Bond in print exploded in the United States. And I mean, now the Bond novels have sold over 140 million copies. 140 million copies of the James Bond novels, the 14 novels that Ian Fleming wrote about Bond. And again, the catalyst, the kickstart that turned these into huge numbers was the American market, was John Kennedy. And again, Ian Fleming was the only one talking about the CIA. They allowed him to. And he wrote about the CIA and MI6 being like this, that the CIA was good and that they were all fierce warriors, and that they were all deep-hearted patriots and could be counted on. They were the good guys, is how Ian Fleming portrayed them. Now, if you read those first two novels, and the creation of the character Felix Leiter, which was sort of the liaison, the go-to person between the CIA and MI6 00 series agent James Bond, Felix Leiter, you know the level of cooperation and brotherhood between Felix Leiter and James Bond. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's just all at the end of the show, your head will just still be spinning from all of these connections. And what they do is they challenge everything that we've been told and everything we've come to know.